Hello, my dear lovely students. How are you all? I hope you all are awesome and your preparation for the NEET going on awesome because you have NEET in another 5 days. And today we will analyze that how's your NEET preparation going on. So just to see all the questions and try to give the answers, right? And I'll be explaining everything for you kids. So this is the full syllabus questions. Like I have put all the full syllabus questions, good questions from your NCERT, right? And from the latest chapters means from the chapters that are there in the new NCERT, just to analyze your preparation. Are you ready? Are you ready to see your like preparation for your exam, right? So just stay connected with me till the end. In case you have any doubt and any questions, I'll be explaining everything along with it, right? So you have to attempt the questions. So let's see all the questions. This is the first question. Choanocyte are also known as. So I'm sure you kids know what is the choanocyte. So yeah, collar cell, nidoblast, flame cell, lazo cell. So what will be the perfect answer? So we know that choanocyte is the other name of the collar cell, right? Which is present in the porifera, no? Which is present in the porifera. So yeah, they do have this. So they have collar-like structure, we know, right? This is how it look like, and it is the characteristic feature. It's the cell which is present in the porifera group, right? So choanocyte has other name that is known as collar cell. We know nidoblast is present in the phylum Nidaria, which has the stinging, which is also known as stinging cell, because it help in the adhesion, or it will be helping in protection, defense, offense, and all, right? So that means it is the part of Nidaria group. And when we talk about flame cell, you know it will be involved in excretion in case of the platyhelminthes. Agree? So yes, kids, it will be present in the platyhelminthes for excretion. And when we talk about the lasso cell, so it is present in the we called it the phylum Ctenophora, right? So we know that in Ctenophora it will be there for adhesion and all, right? So it will be present on the tentacles of Ctenophora group, right? So you have to remember at least these terms, and you know that choanocyte is the other name of the collar cell, which is present in the porifera. So this is the special cell of porifera, no? So this is the perfect answer. Next question, which of the following phylum show polymorphism? So kids, easy question from the animal kingdom. So we know poly means many, morphism means form. They exist in various forms. So you kids know that porifera doesn't exist in like different forms. And Coelenterata, yes, Coelenterata is the other name of Nidaria. So you kids know they exist in the polyp. So how does polyp look like? Like this, umbrella shaped. And when we talk about the medusa form, it look like this, umbrella shape. So when we talk about the polyp, it is basically like this, right? So it is having tentacles upward, like the mouth facing upward. But here in the medusa, it's umbrella shape and it's mouth facing downward, right? So obviously it look like umbrella and polyp look like this way, right? So you can see the structures, you can see the difference. They exist in the two different forms. They show polymorphism. Ctenophora don't exist in two forms, platyhelminthes also. So perfect answer will be Coelenterata or Nidaria show polymorphism. Okay, kids? Other question for you kids, you have to write down answer. Notochord is formed on which side of the body during embryonic development? So tell me. So where does this notochord present? So you kids know, easy question. Easy question. So where does it present? Notochord is present lateral side, ventral, or dorsal, or bilateral. So we know when we talk about notochord, so in the higher vertebrates, notochord is replaced by the vertebral column, right? So obviously our vertebral column present, dorsally. So it is present dorsal, it's hollow, it's single structure, which is present, in the back side, right? In the dorsal side. So perfect answer should be dorsal over here. Next question, tentacles of Ctenophora contain. So we know that tentacles are like projections from the body. So you kids just attempt all the answers. What should be the perfect answer here? So where these tentacles of Ctenophora contain, what they contain? So tentacles are projections like coming out of the body for the defense and all, for the adhesion and all, right? So what should be the perfect answer here? So we know that nidoblast is the part of Nidaria. These are present in Nigeria body surface and tentacles for the adhesion, for the offense and defense, right? When we talk about complates, it is present in the ctenophora, but it's for locomotion, no? So obviously complates present on 8 median complates, ciliated complates present on their body for the locomotion, right? So it has purpose in the locomotion. And statocyst is present in their aboral region. So what is aboral? So if we see the ctenophora diagram, no, and suppose this is their oral end. Oral means the mouth part. So opposite end of the mouth known as aboral part, right? So they do have the statocyst in their aboral part, right? And statocyst basically help in balancing. So statocyst present somewhere here, and it will be helping in balancing the body in water, right? So it will be helping in balance. When we talk about coloblast, also known as lasso cell, so kids, this is present on their tentacles for adhesion and all, right? So yeah, this is the perfect answer over here. Next question for you kids, hydra is, so you just tell me about hydra given in NCERT. So hydra is fresh water radially. So we know that Nigeria groups are radially symmetrical and they are diploblastic, right? And obviously hydra is the exception there, or hydra is one of the organism which is living in the fresh water, because maximum organism of Nigeria are marine water as per our NCERT, right? So yes, it is fresh water and it is radially symmetrical and diploblastic, right? So perfect answer is 1 here. Perfect answer is 1 here. Next question for you kids. Which of the following are drugs? And you know, like in a NEET exam, they ask many questions from the secondary metabolites. So kids, you have to remember that whole secondary metabolite thing, right? So when we talk about secondary metabolite, they have given the name aberrin and ricin. Obviously, these are toxin. These are proteinaceous toxin. Next, morphine and codeine. So tell me, what is morphine and codeine? They are alkaloids, right? So they are basically used in various ways. Alkaloids, these are alkaloids. And when we talk about vinblastine and curcumin, so yeah, they used as a drugs to treat cancer. So yeah, they are the drugs, and these rubbers and gums are polymeric substance, right? So these are polymeric substance. So perfect answer, which of the following are drugs? So what will be the perfect answer? Vinblastine and curcumin. So these drugs are basically treated, are used to treat the cancer and all. So you have to remember that secondary metabolite which is given in your NCERT. Biomolecules which cannot be considered as a polymer. So you get know poly means many, mer means unit. So which is made up of many single units known as polymer. So they are asking you which one is not a polymer. So I'm sure you have done, you have read your NCERT, you have done it very nicely, that which one is not polymer. And this is the same type of question they ask in the past years, right? So rubisco is proteinaceous enzyme, right? So rubisco is proteinaceous enzyme. So we know that proteinaceous enzyme made up of many amino acids. So obviously it's polymer. Enzymes are polymer. Gingerly oil is the example of lipid. Glycogen is the long chain of the glucose, and cellulose also the long chain of beta glucose that you must have done in your NCERT in your classes, right? So when we talk about the not polymer, so we know that lipid, because gingerly oil is the example of lipid, and hence gingerly oil, tell me kids, gingerly oil is not polymer. Lipid is not polymer, right? Lipid is never a polymer. So you have to remember that all of these are polymer except gingerly oil, because it is the lipid, right? So let me take you ahead now. This is the other question for you kids. Oh, this question is from the activation energy, having little concept of your chemistry. So let me see how many of you know it. So when we talk about the substrate energy level, and it is just this is the potential energy, like how much energy a substrate carrying, right? Or energy, basically kinetic energy, right? So it's representing energy. And when we talk about progression of reactions, so substrate converting into product, substrate has more energy, product has less energy, right? So that means, and this is the peak of energy known as activation energy. So A represent more activation energy is required to convert substrate into product, and B represent that less activation energy is required to convert substrate into product. So my dear lovely kids, tell me what would be the answer. So A is representing activation energy without enzyme, and B is representing activation energy with enzyme. What do you say? Because always enzyme decrease activation energy and convert product very fast. No? So in presence of enzyme, activation energy is reduced and product forming super fast. So correct answer should be, what should be the correct answer then? Should be C here, right? So correct answer should be C here. Activation energy without enzyme, because it require more activation energy and it require less activation energy. It has less activation energy means, you kids know, means it is with enzyme, it is without enzyme, right? So that's why this is A and this is B. C is the perfect answer. Disease transmitted through insect like mosquito can be controlled by introducing fish like. So you kids know which fish is considered larvivores. Larvivores means they are eating larvae of mosquito, because you kids know mosquito lay egg in the fresh water and we have to control the growth of those larvae into mosquito. So we have to introduce the larvivores fish there. And we know out of all, Gambusia fish is the best example, right? Given in your human health and disease chapter. Okay, let's see. Which of the following are false? Which are not true? You have to tell me the false statement. Kidney have outer cortex and inner medulla present in the pyramid form. That's true. Outer cortex, inner medulla are two zones of the kidney. That's true. Cortex is divided into few renal pyramids. No, medulla divided into the renal pyramids, right? Medullary pyramids. So this is false. Pyramid project into the calyx. Okay, pyramid projects into the calyx. Inward extension of medulla between the pyramid. No, inward extension of cortex between the medulla is basically called as column of Bertani or renal column, right? So this is not true. And pyramid projects into the calyx region. So yeah, like this you can see. So you tell me which one is the perfect option here. So second option is incorrect and fourth also incorrect. So which one is the perfect answer here? Tell me. Which one would be the perfect answer here? Second option is incorrect, fourth is incorrect. So correct answer will be 2 here. What do you say? Perfect answer will be 2 here, right? So I'm sure it's clear to you, right? Pyramid project into the calyx. Yeah, so we have the medullary pyramid, which basically like this, right? And cortex region also project into the medulla part known as column of Bertani, as you can see here. Next question, diffusion membrane is made up of thin squamous epithelium of alveoli, endothelial lining of the alveolar capillaries that surround it, basement substance, all of these. So diffusion membrane is made up of a squamous epithelium of alveoli. That's true. Endothelial of the alveolar capillaries, lining of the alveolar capillaries that surround it. Yes, is capillaries also made up of single squamous epithelium, which are endodermis in origin. So we are calling it endothelial, no? And basement substance. So basement substance also helping in diffusion. So diffusion membrane is made up of all of these things. So we know when we talk about diffusion membrane of alveoli, so it includes squamous epithelium of alveoli, it has the endothelium of capillaries, and obviously they do have the basement membrane, because epithelial tissue rests on the basement membrane, kids, right? So correct answer will be 4 here, all of these. Next, factor that affect rate of diffusion. So we know that solubility of gas increase the rate of diffusion. So it is directly proportional with the diffusion. Partial pressure of gases, if more the partial pressure, more diffusion. So it is also directly proportional to diffusion. Thickness of membrane. So we know if membrane is so thin, so diffusion will be higher. So obviously it depends on the thickness of the membrane also. It should be very thin, that means high diffusion. So the diffusion, rate of diffusion affected by all these 3 things, right? So perfect answer should be all of these here. Next question, conversion of prothrombin into thrombin, which of the following is required? So my dear lovely kids, they have asked such questions, such blood clotting factors and things in the exam, right? So I'm just writing down everything that you have to remember for your exam. So remember one thing, whenever we have injured tissue, right? Suppose we have injured tissue, and injured tissue means blood is oozing out and platelets come in contact with the air, right? Platelets come in contact with the air, and both of these things will get activated and secrete certain chemical, and that chemical is basically known as thromboplastin, right? So yeah, you have to remember they will be secreting thromboplastin, which will initiate the blood clotting. So it is the initiator of blood clotting, right? This factor will be initiating blood clotting, you have to remember. Then this thromboplastin will activate other factor in the blood that is known as prothrombinase. So pro, wherever we write the term pro means inactive. So yeah, many factor present in inactive form. So prothrombinase in presence of the thromboplastin and calcium, and at this level heparin means anticoagulant, will get inactivated because we just want to make the clot in the wound, right? So this prothrombinase will be converted into thrombokinase, kids. Yeah, it will be converted into thrombokinase. And finally, this thrombokinase again in presence of the calcium will be activating other factor. And what is other factor? Prothrombin, right? And prothrombin are formed in liver with help of vitamin K. So kids, vitamin K is very, very important for blood clotting because it's forming the prothrombin. Pro means it is inactivated. But in presence of thrombokinase and calcium, it will be converted into the thrombin. It will be converted into thrombin. Now, thrombin in presence of the calcium will convert fibrinogen. So, fibrinogen is inactivated protein, right? And it will be converted into fibrin. So, fibrin means thread-like fibers which will come together. Fibrin stabilizing factor will convert those thread into bandage. So, yes, fibrin are insoluble fibrous thread, and fiber stabilizing factor will convert it into bandage, convert those thread, weave those thread in the form of the bandage, and your wound will be covered by this clot, covered by the bandage, right? So that means fibrin is network of fibrous thread. Network of thread, fibrous thread, right? How they look like this, my dear lovely kids. And fibrin stabilizing factor will make these fiber, will weave these fiber in the form of bandage so that your wound will be clotted. There will be no blood loss, right? So yes, fibrin stabilizing factor will convert this into bandage. Fibrin stabilizing factor will convert it into bandage, and that bandage will prevent your blood loss. No, it will be converted into clot, fibrous network, and forming the bandage like structure like this. So it will trap all the blood cells and all, so the permanent clot will be formed. I mean, the clot will be formed there to prevent the loss of the blood, right? And in that way, your wound will be healed soon, right? So kids, that's all. So you just tell me that conversion of prothrombin into the thrombin, which of the following thing is required? Now you can tell me the answer. Thrombokinase. What do you say, kids? Now it's easier for you to, mark answers, right? So you tell me what will be the answer here. So which one is required? So when we talk about this, we obviously required thrombokinase as per the question, right? So yeah, thrombokinase will be the perfect answer. So prothrombin will be converted into thrombin in presence of thrombokinase. If they ask you question that fibrinogen will convert into fibrin in the presence of which factor, so it will be thrombin. So they can ask you any question from the flow chart that I have mentioned for the blood clotting, right? So bacha, you have to remember this as it is. So note it down. Atrial systole You know what is atrial systole? Your upper chamber of the heart is contracting, right? Your upper chamber of the heart is contracting and filling the ventricles, right? So one is the joint, one is the joint systole, other one, joint diastole, and other one is the atrial systole. Atrial is basically, what they are doing. They are just squeezing the blood in the ventricles, right? So increase the blood flow into the ventricle by 70%? No, by 30%, because 70% blood is filled during joint diastole. But during atrial systole, when atrium are contracting and pushing blood in the ventricle, it will be increased by 30%, right? It is due generation of action potential in AVN? No, it will be generating action potential, is due to generation of action potential in SAN. Sinoatrial node will be causing contraction in the atrium, and AVN contraction or AVN, impulses will basically generating action potential or contraction in the ventricle, right? So correct answer should be SAN, not AVN here. So this is incorrect. Increase blood flow into the ventricle by 30%, that's true. And coincide with the ventricular systole. Systole means contraction. No, at this time ventricles are relaxed, right? So this is coinciding with the ventricular diastole, not systole. So this is absolutely incorrect. So what will be the perfect answer, kids? What will be the perfect answer? Obviously C is the perfect answer. Third is the perfect answer here. All of the following are excreted through sebum, except sebum is the wax, right? So wax of your body have the sterols, have the hydrocarbon, have the waxes, but NaCl is not present in it. NaCl generally present excreted out from the sweat in the form of the sweat, right? It will be present in the sweat, right? Composition of the sweat, not the sebum or wax. Contraction of which of the following smooth muscle result in the release of the urine out from the urinary bladder? So it will be detrusor muscle. Detrusor muscle means which is stretchable, right? And we know that the stretchable muscle present in your urinary bladder. When we talk about Dartos muscle, it is present in the scrotum of male, so that it will be, it will be changing the position of the scrotum to maintain the temperature of the testes, right? When we talk about deltoid muscle, it will be present in your bone, humerus bone, to connect with the muscles, right? And then when we talk about depressor muscle, it is basically present somewhere here in your facial part, right? So that means perfect answer will be 2 here. Anaerobic work become painful due to accumulation. So we know that aerobic respiration will be breaking down glucose completely into CO2 water to produce enormous energy. But when we talk about anaerobic respiration, so you kids know that it will be producing huge amount of lactic acid, and it causes fatigue, it causes pain in the body, right? So perfect answer will be lactic acid. What do you say? Yes, perfect answer will be lactic acid. Contractile unit of muscles is a part of myofibril between. So what is the contractile unit of muscle? Obviously sarcomere, and you kids know that sarcomere, sarco means muscle, mere is unit. Contraction unit of the muscle is basically present between 2 Z lines, right? So each consecutive Z line consists the sarcomere. So one Z line to other Z line, right? So we know that what is Z line? These zigzag Z line is basically having the one sarcomere like this, okay? They have myosin, 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 and they have actin, actin like this. So when we talk about the, the A band, so the whole length of myosin is considered A band, irrespective of the overlapping, right? When we talk about, the other band, that is I band means where only actin is present. So this is known as I band, where only actin is present, there is no overlapping of myosin, right? So that is something which you have to remember. And where only myosin is present without overlapping, known as H zone. So I'm sure you kids are aware about this. And between 2Z line, we have consecutive, we have basically sarcomere, right? So between the 2Z line, one sarcomere, other sarcomere, that's all you have to remember. Next question, somatic neural system relays impulse from. So somatic neural system, what do you understand by somatic? Somatic means that is carrying the impulses to the skeletal muscle, which is under your control, right? So what will be the perfect answer here? So when we talk about somatic neural system, somatic means related to the organs, voluntary organs. So central nervous system, it's the part of the nerves, right? That will be carrying impulses from central nervous system to the voluntary organs. And we know that voluntary organs is the skeletal, controlled by the skeletal muscle, right? So it will be taking signal from central nervous system to skeletal muscle. This will be the perfect answer here. And autonomic nervous system will be carrying impulse from central nervous system to the involuntary organs, to the smooth muscles, right? Next, which of the following is not under the control of human parasympathetic? So kids, we have sympathetic neural system, and you kids know that when we talk about nervous system, we have central nervous system, we have peripheral nervous system, no? It has brain and it has your spinal cord, no? Brain and spinal cord. And when we talk about the peripheral nervous system, so we have this, somatic neural nervous system, or we have autonomic or visceral neural system. Autonomic means those organs which are not under our control, right? And autonomic neural system again divided into two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So that means when your body is parasympathetic, when your body is in the normal condition, it will be controlled by parasympathetic. And S for sympathetic, S for stress. So when you are in the stress, your body's activity will be controlled by sympathetic neural system. So sympathetic, S for sympathetic, S for stress. When your body has to come into the stress, then this part is working, right? And when we talk about parasympathetic, it will be just relaxing your body, right? So you have to remember this. Now let's see. So which of the following is not under control of human parasympathetic nervous system? Constriction of pupil, no. So when we are relaxing, chilling, so our size of the pupil go down, right? It will be constricted. And when we are in fear, when we are scared, when we are stressed, so our eyes become so large, our pupil gets dilated, right? So this is true. I mean, this is under the control of parasympathetic. Increase in salivation, so a contraction of the bladder, that is also true. It is under the control of parasympathetic, that you will be this urinary bladder contracting, right? And then obviously you will be like having the urge of urine and all, right, when it is filled. Increase in salivation, so when we talk about the parasympathetic, yes, it will be increasing your digestive activity, right? Even the salivation. But during stress, your mouth get dried, right? So means your digestive activity gets slowed down during the stress, right? And your heartbeat go up during stress, your respiratory system working very fast during the stress. But during the stress, digestive system, all the system of the digestion go down. But yeah, during normal condition, everything is working in the digestive system. Increase sweating, no. This is under the control of sympathetic. You are sweating when you are in stress, but when you are chilling, pilling, when you are having fun and you are very chilling and relaxing, so that time no sweat, right? That time sweat doesn't happen. But when you are in stress, obviously sweating happens. So it is under the control of sympathetic, not parasympathetic. So this will be the odd one out. So kids, which part of brain is responsible for thermoregulation? So we know that cerebrum is responsible for your IQ, for your decision making thing, for many, for your intelligence, for your whatever, right? So all the things related to your brain, to your thinking, to your perceptions will be controlled by cerebrum. And when we talk about the hypothalamus, they will be, controlling your urge of hunger, urge of thirst, thermoregulation, sexual desire, some emotions will be controlled by hypothalamus. Corpus callosum is the connection between the two cerebrums. So you kids know that two cerebral hemisphere left and right will be connected by the corpus callosum, right? And medulla oblongata is basically, controlling all the involuntary activity, right? Like your heartbeat, your respiration, your saliva secretion, sneezing, wheezing, whatever, right? So that means everything, all the involuntary thing will be controlled by medulla. So what will be the perfect answer? Thermoregulation will be done by hypothalamus, right? Because I have told you 4 functions of hypothalamus that you have to remember. Removal of parathyroid gland can result in, so my dear lovely kids, we know parathyroid gland secrete which hormone? Parathormone. And this parathyroid hormone or parathormone, right? Parathyroid hormone or parathormone. And this basically increase calcium level in the blood. So in blood, it will be increasing calcium level, right? And when we are removing the parathyroid gland, then what will happen? No parathormone. No parathormone means it will not increase calcium in the blood. So where does this calcium go? Because calcium will go down in blood ultimately when you don't have parathormone. So when the blood body fluid have low calcium, in absence of the parathormone, then where does this calcium will go? So calcium definitely will increase in muscle, it will definitely increase in your nerves, and it will cause the stimulation of the nerve, stimulation of the muscle, even without any without any signal, right? Without any neural signal, it will be continuously contracting, continuously stimulating, although they are not getting any signal from the brain. So that means spasm will happen, tetany will happen. Tetany means a continuous contraction even without any stimulus. Are you getting it? It will stimulate the contraction without any stimulus. So that will be causing tetany. Goiter will be caused by the thyroxine hormone of thyroid gland. Diabetes caused by the insulin of the pancreas. Gigantism caused by the growth hormone, secretion of huge amount of growth hormone. So perfect answer will be tetany here, right? So I'm sure you are able to relate with this question. Now the other question. Prolactin is lactotroph. Yes, prolactin means secretion, production of the milk by the this hormone, this hormone triggering the alveoli of the mammary gland, which is secreting milk. Production of the milk will be done by the prolactin, also called lactotroph, right? And FSH is also known as gonadotroph. Yeah, both of them are true. Gonadotroph means FSH will be acting on gonads. Yeah, FSH act on the testes in case of male and ovaries in case of female. That's absolutely true. No kids? So absolutely correct answer will be both these statements are correct. Both the statements are correct. So third is the perfect answer here. Now let's move ahead. Easy question, no? So over secretion of growth hormone occurs after puberty, then individuals suffer from. So when growth hormone increase before puberty, it cause gigantism. That person will be like having huge height, right? So it will be causing gigantism. But when the growth hormone increase after puberty, only certain bones will increase, and that is because epiphyseal plate of most of the long bones are closed. So generally, before puberty, epiphyseal plate of the long bones are open. So when this growth hormone continuously acting, their limbs will increase in size. So overall gigantism will happen. But after puberty, their epiphyseal plates stop. Many bones like don't have the epiphyseal plate, and their epiphyseal plate get closed, no? And they are just acting on certain bones. So they are increasing certain bones like facial bones, like hand bones. So their hand becomes so large, their facial bone becomes so long. So they have the, body like very disproportionate body. They are having the gorilla-like body, right? So that means that condition known as acromegaly, right? And we know that pituitary dwarfism caused by the growth hormone decrease before puberty caused dwarfism, and acromegaly means certain part will be increased. So after puberty, when growth hormone is huge, cause the acromegaly, right? Now, so you can just write down certain example. I'm sure you have seen certain example of some sports people who are having that, the very disproportionate body, right? So they have this acromegaly in their body, right? So next condition is the corpus luteum secrete progesterone after ovulation. That's true. And progesterone is necessary. So why after ovulation? Because once ovulation is done, body is assuming that sperm will come and fertilize it. So this progesterone will maintain the thickness of endometrium wall of the uterus for the potential implantation. No, so because it's expecting that embryo will formed after ovulation, sperm will come and fertilize it and it will be implanted, right? So absolutely, this is making proper sense for the assertion. So you kids tell me what will be the perfect answer here. You kids tell me what will be the perfect answer here. So absolutely, as per the question, reason is perfect for assertion. Assertion is absolutely true. So perfect answer will be A here, right? That means corpus luteum secrete progesterone after ovulation. Why? Because after ovulation, body is considering that sperm will come, fertilization happen, embryo will form, and implantation will occur. So for that, it's maintaining the endometrium thickness. Okay. So yeah, perfect answer. In human, at the end of first meiotic division, male germ cells are formed. So what will be the answer, kids? At the end of first meiotic division, so we know that this is the primary spermatocyte. So primary spermatocyte, basically nothing but the diploid cell made up of spermatogonia. When spermatogonia increase in size, they are known as primary spermatocyte, right? Now this primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1. And it will be reductional division forming the 2 secondary haploid spermatocyte. So it will be forming secondary spermatocyte. So their question from you is that at the end of first meiosis, male germ cell will form the secondary spermatocyte, 2 haploid secondary spermatocyte, right? So primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1 to form this. And what is spermatid? These spermatocyte later undergo meiosis 2. And because they are undergoing meiosis 2, they will be forming 4 haploid spermatids. So this is spermatids. And later spermatids will differentiate into the sperms, right? Later these spermatids, each spermatid differentiate into the with head and tail, the sperm with head and tail. So, 4 sperms will be differentiated. And this differentiation process known as of spermatid to sperms known as, kids, spermiogenesis. No? So if somebody asks you what is that differentiation process known as, it is known as spermiogenesis. And this whole step from spermatogonia to the formation of sperm known as the spermatogenesis, right? So you have to remember these terms also, and this would be the perfect answer. What is spermatogonia? It is the immature germ cell. This is spermatogonia, and this spermatogonia will increase in size, will accumulate more nourishment for the meiosis, right? So spermatogonia is also diploid. They are also having 46 chromosome. They also have 46 chromosome, which later undergo reductional division. Their chromosomes get separated, right? So they have 46 such structure, right? 46 such structure means 23 pairs. So this is one pair, and they do have the 23 such pairs, right? Now during the meiosis 1, these become unpaired. So such structure will go in one secondary spermatocyte, and such 23 structure will go in one secondary spermatocyte. So that means their paired chromosomes, 23 pairs, are getting separated. They are getting unpaired in meiosis 1. So you have to remember that in meiosis, they are getting the chromosome, right? They are getting 23 chromosome here, 23 here. Paired become unpaired in the meiosis 1. And in meiosis 2, these chromatids, these chromatids get separated. So 23 chromatids will go here, 23 will go here. And same way, 23 chromatid will go here, 23 will go here. And this is how their chromosomes are separated, right? So during meiosis 1, why do we call it reductional division? Because paired chromosome getting unpaired, chromosomal reduction happening. And during meiosis too, we called it equational division because it has 23 chromosome, and all the cells are getting 23 chromatids only, because sister chromatids are getting separated here. Like mitosis, it is just like mitosis. Okay kids, so you have to remember these basic things here. Okay, middle piece of the sperm. So we know that sperm have this head, it has this small neck, it has the middle piece, and it has the long tail, no, like this, and its head is covered by this what we called, and it has the nucleus with the genetic material, right? Middle piece has the mitochondria arranged in the spiral, arranged in the spiral form, right? And this mitochondria will be providing energy. Centriole present in the neck region, centrioles present in the neck region, nucleus present in the head region, and proteins. So like what kind of proteins they are asking. So bacha, this is the acrosome filled with the enzyme, sperm lysine enzyme, which will be dissolving the egg membrane. So perfect answer, middle piece has spirally arranged mitochondria, which is powerhouse of the sperm, providing energy for the motility of the sperm itself, right? So this is the middle piece containing spirally shaped mitochondria. Hormone releasing IUDs. So in intrauterine devices. So when we talk about cortisone, no, it's a glucocorticoid hormone, right? So you kids know glucocorticoid will be increasing glucose level in the body, right? It will be, you know, having the function in the RBC formation. It will be decreasing WBC number. So that's why it is actually act as the immunosuppressive hormone, right? So it is hormone and it is not IUD, by the way. Progestasert, it is not the IUDs, right? These progestasert are not IUDs. These are kind of implants, right? And when we talk about LNG20, so levonorgestrel. So kids, when we talk about the levonorgestrel, so obviously it is carrying the progesterone hormone in it. So perfect answer will be LNG20 here, right? Next question, MTPs are relatively safe up to 12 week, 20 week, 24 secondary trust. So we know that as per our NCRT, it is safe up to the 12 weeks. So what do you say? Yes. What will be the answer? Up to the 12 weeks, it's safe, right? Up to the 12 weeks, it is safe. Next question for you kids, life originate in water. So first life originate in water. We know that we have, because our earth was surrounded by was filled with the water, maximum water, and first life originated from the water, and later when life evolved, they came to the land, right? So correct answer will be water here. Theories which are talking about the origin of life. So bacha, Big Bang theory is talking about the origin of universe, right? It is talking about the origin of universe that is given in our NCRT. We did it in the class. Panspermia theory means life, origin of life. Life has come from the different planet. Panspermia means life, or you know, the unit of life in the form of spore, in the form of seed, in the form of the sperm, came from the different planet, right? So this is actually talking about the origin of life, how life came, planet. And spontaneous generation means non-living organism or non-living things is suddenly, spontaneously giving rise the living. So that is the spontaneous generation. And chemical evolution given by Operin Heldon, that, you know, inorganic compounds, atom react to form molecules, molecule react to form the inorganic, inorganic reacted to form the what we called organic, and organic accumulated to form the precursor of life, and then they converted into life, right? So that is also talking about the origin of life. But Big Bang theory is odd one out, because this theory talking about the origin of universe, right kids? So this is the perfect answer here. Next, first mammal on earth were like shrews. That's true. Dryopithecus were more ape-like and Dramapithecus were more man-like. That's true. Both these statements are perfectly true, right? So perfect answer will be 3 here, kids. What will be the perfect answer? 3. Both these statements are true. Both these statements are true here. Dryopithecus look like ape and Ramapithecus look like man, because like they have originated. Dryopithecus originated into Ramapithecus, right? They look like more man-like. And first mammals which were found on earth were like shrew, like very small. Common cold is viral infection. So obviously bacteria has nothing to do with it. and it is infectious, obviously. So this is absolutely wrong. It is caused by the rhinovirus. No, a rhino means related to nose, and virus, this is the viral disease. Antibodies produced against allergen are Ig type. That's true. Edward Jenner is regarded as the father of immunology. So kids, what will be the perfect answer here? So when we talk about the, this thing, so yes, both these statements are perfectly true, right? Assertion and reason both are true, but again, assertion doesn't have to do anything with the reason, right? Or the reason has nothing to do with the assertion here, because both the statement are individually correct, but they don't have any relation. So we know that Edward Jenner, known as father of immunology, and he actually have done the he has formed the smallpox vaccine, right? Because he have seen that cowpox is similar to the smallpox virus, right? And milkmaid person, milkmaid basically were basically resistant to the smallpox, right? So he was like, oh, because these people are coming in contact with the cow which is having the cowpox, and these people are getting immunized. So from there itself he got the idea of the vaccination, and that's why we called him father of immunology. So perfect answer will be 4 here, right? Now you tell me, what is autoimmunity? So when we talk about autoimmunity, so what will be the perfect answer? Ability of immune system to discriminate between self and non-self? No. In autoimmune disorder, no, our body not able to differentiate self and non-self, and which cause autoimmune disorder, right? Inability. So when we are talking about autoimmunity diseases, right? Disorders. Inability of immune system damage self and representing the no. So inability, no, it's ability. Basically they are damaging the self cell. So this is wrong. Inability of immune system distinguish between self from the non-self, that's true. And ability of immune cell to damage the self cell, that's also true. So perfect answer will be CD. So autoimmune disorder are those in which our body is not able to discriminate between self and non-self, and that's why they started killing their own cell, right? And example is Alzheimer's disease. Okay, what is the Michael-Menten constant, Km value in your enzyme part? So we know when we talk about the substrate concentration and all, so our reaction will be like this, right? So we know that as we increase the concentration of substrate, velocity will also go up, right? So this is the maximum velocity. This is the maximum velocity, and that means maximum velocity reaches when all the enzyme for the reaction are basically saturated, are basically bind with the substrate itself. So suppose for this reaction we have 10 enzymes and all the active site are bind with the substrate. So as we increase the substrate level, first of all velocity will go up, rate of reaction will go up. But once all the active site of enzymes are occupied, once the maximum substrate or maximum value is reached, maximum velocity means all active site of enzymes are occupied now. So no matter how much substrate you add, velocity cannot be increased. So hence at the maximum level it go in saturation. And what is Km value? Amount of substrate that is required to reach Vmax half. So that means half of maximum velocity. To reach half of maximum velocity, amount of substrate is required is known as Km value, right? So what is the definition of Km value? Substrate concentration at which reaction attain half of its maximum velocity. This is known as Km value. Okay kids, so what is Km value? I have told you that amount of substrate required to reach half of the maximum velocity is known as the Km value. So Km value is nothing but the amount of substrate, concentration of substrate that is required to reach half of maximum velocity, right? Next question, which of the following is not characteristic feature of frog? So you know frog, they are very slimy, very moist body. Each of the forelimbs and hind limbs have 5 digits? No. So you kids know their hind limb have 5 digits, but forelimbs have 4 digits, no? I'm sure you kids have done the, frog part, right? And obviously it's in our syllabus, so you have to do it. So this is the incorrect question. This is the incorrect option. Hepatic and renal portal system they do have, yeah. So I'm sure you know what is portal system. So hepatic means liver, And renal means related to kidney. So we know portal system means when, blood from one organ generally go to the heart. Blood from the organ go to the heart directly in our body. But when blood from the organ go to the another organ, second organ, and then from this it goes to the heart, known as hepatic system, portal system, sorry, portal system. So what is the hepatic portal system? Blood from the digestion absorbing all the nutrient, and that nutrient, that blood with the rich nutrient will not go to the heart directly. It will go to the liver. And why it's going to the liver? Because liver actually help in the metabolism of food. So all the sugar will be accumulated in the form of glycogen, excess protein, excess amino acid will be converted into urea, and fat will be deposited, and means it will be metabolizing all the nutrients. So hence it will be going to the liver and then going to heart. So between the digestive system and liver we have hepatic portal system, right? And renal means from the kidney, blood is not going to, from the lower body part, blood is going to the kidney for the filtration and then going to the heart. You'll be like, why? Why from the lower body part, blood is going to the kidney first, not going to the heart? Because frog don't have the advanced kidney. And if all the nitrogenous waste come together from the heart to the kidney, it won't be able to bear that much stress, that much workload. So that's why, to decrease the workload, some blood is going from the lower body, firstly, and then some blood is coming from the upper body part, from the heart itself, right? So that means from the lower body organ, blood go to kidney first for filtration and then going to heart. So that half blood will be filtered by kidney in one time and half blood will be filtered by other time. So workload will not increase, right? So that's why they do have both the portal system. Skin, buccal cavity, lungs are required for the respiratory organ. They act as a respiratory organ. That's absolutely true. So when they are in hibernation, when they are in water, they respire through the skin. And when they are in air, they just fill the buccal cavity with the air, known as buccopharyngeal respiration, and they just push the air in the lungs, right? So yeah, their lungs and buccal cavity also involved. But this is absolutely wrong. In gel electrophoresis, DNA fragments move towards the cathode. So my dear lovely kids, DNA fragments are negative and cathode means negative. So it's absolutely wrong because it will be migrating towards the anode, right? So this is absolutely wrong. And obviously separation of DNA fragment happened on the basis of the size. That's true. That's true. But this is wrong. So what will be the perfect answer? Statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. So 1 is the perfect answer over here. 1 is the perfect answer over here, right? Next, kids, next question for you kids. Which of the following enzymes has been incorrectly matched with their function? So we know that ligase is molecular glue. That's true. Endonucleases, scalpel means scissor, chemical scissor. That's true. DNA polymerase join nucleotide, not nucleoside. RNA polymerase join nucleotide. That's true. So this is false. Kids, this is the incorrectly matched because they are connecting nucleotide, not nucleoside. Nucleoside means they have sugar and they have nitrogenous base, and nucleotide means sugar, nitrogen base and phosphate. They are in one nucleotide which will be connected with other nucleotide, right? Next question. Okay, palindromic sequence recognized by ECORE1. So we know it will be cutting between GA and GAATC, 5' to 3' and 3' to 5'. So this is the perfect answer. Why not this? Because they have written 5' to 3', 5' to 3', but they are anti-parallel. Their polarity is opposite, not similar. They are not like having similar polarity, right? So that's why perfect answer will be 3 here. How many ova are laid at a time by the mature female frog? So kids, at one time, female laying 2500 to 3000 egg. So one time, 2,500 to 3,000 eggs laid by the female frog. And why this huge number of eggs? Because we know their fertilization is external, and all the animals, all the plants which are doing external fertilization for the compensation, because many eggs will be lost, they won't be get fertilized, so they have to release huge amount of the egg, that chances of fertilization will increase outside, right? So that is the reason they are producing huge amount of eggs, because all of them won't be fertilized. Crystalline protein synthesized by Bacillus thuringiensis is activated by the alkaline pH of insect in the midgut, not in foregut but in the midgut. So what will be the perfect answer here? Obviously D, right? So kids, alkaline pH in the midgut of the insect will activate it. Method of producing microbes and pest resistant plant include? Tell me. Method of producing microbe and pest resistant plant by using RNA interference. Yes, that's true. So we make the tobacco plant this pest resistant, right? Nematode resistant. And when we talk about Bt toxin, we make it pest resistant. And gene therapy for the correction of mutation, right? So if you want to do any correction of the gene, so we go for the gene therapy. So it has nothing to do with the pest resistant and this. So correct answer will be both 1 and 2 technique are actually involved to produce the nematode resistant and pest resistant plant, right? Production of pest resistant plant could increase the amount of pesticide used? No. Increase the amount of weedicide? No. Decrease the amount of pesticide? Yes. So we have made them pesticide. We have put the gene in them that they have natural capacity to fight with the pest. So we don't have to use the chemical pesticide now. So we have reduced the reliability on the chemical pesticide now, right? So perfect answer will be 3 here. Pseudocoelomate phylum is, so pseudocoelomate means, you know, we have ectoderm, we have endoderm, and mesoderm is basically present in the pouch form, right, between ecto and endoderm, and it will be seen only in the Aschelminthes. Platyhelminthes are acoelomate because they don't have any mesoderm, not even in the form of pouch. Annelida, they are coelomate because they have coelomate, because when we see their coelom, their body, so their outer body is ectoderm, their gut is covered by endoderm, and mesoderm is lining, forming the outer cover of gut and inner lining of the body wall, and this space between the true mesodermal lining known as true coelom. So coelom is mesodermal in origin, we know, right? So we know this is ecto, we know this is endo, and we know this is how the mesoderm is arranged in the true coelom, and even arthropoda is coelomate. So perfect answer will be 1 here, right? Next question. Okay, so you have to match the columns. So saltation means single step large mutation given by Hugo de Vries. A goes with 3. Okay, so we have 3 options here with the 3. Formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution given by Oparin and Hilton. So it would be, okay, 2 options. Fitness, reproductive fitness given by the Darwin. Okay, so now answer is confirmed. No, life come from pre-existing life was explained by Louis Pasteur, right? So he has done this experiment to prove that life has come from the life. It has not spontaneously generated. So they disapproved Louis Pasteur disapproved the spontaneous generation, right? That life come from the life, not from the non-living. So perfect answer will be 1 here. Next, respiratory organ as tracheal system is present in. So kids, you just tell me, because you know we know that arthropoda has various type of respiratory organs in their body, right? And they are just asking about the tracheal system. So you just tell me about the prawns. So prawns has gills for the respiration. Prawns has gills for the respiration. When we talk about the scorpion, so scorpion has book lungs for respiration. They have this book lungs for respiration. No? And when we talk about the crabs, crabs also have the gills for respiration. And when we talk about cockroach, so they have the tracheal system, they have the pipe system for the respiration. No, they have the spiracles and all, right? So perfect answer will be 4 here. Cockroaches has tracheal system, rest other arthropoda having the system which is mentioned over here, right? Which of the following is not the characteristic of chordata? Notochord is present. Yes, that is the characteristic. Post-anal tail is present. That is also characteristic. Pharynx perforated by the... Yes, that's also true. Heart is not dorsal. Our heart present ventral. So this is absolutely wrong. So correct answer will be 4th here. Which of the following is limbless amphibia? So, bacha, hyla, we know it, they have the limbs. Salamandra also have the limb. Buffo also have the pair. Limbs means their feet, right? Their limbs. But ichthyophis is the limbless amphibian. They don't have any limbs. They have the snake-like body, right? Next, how many spiracles are present in the Periplaneta americana? So, we know that 20 spiracles. 10 on one side, so this is their body, and 10 spiracles present on one side and 10 spiracles present on other side, right? So like this, right? So that means 2 pairs present in thoracic region and rest 8 pairs present in the abdominal region. Right, so you have to remember they have total 10 pairs spiracles, 10 on one side, 10 on other side. So I'm sure that you are able to analyze your preparation now, because we have question. I have taken these questions from the full syllabus, and now you are able to analyze yourself that which chapter required huge practice. So all the best for your exam. If you want to make me difficult questions with the difficult questions, so I'll be bringing it for you in these days, right? So before your exam. So all the best, kids. So just practice your revise your weaker part and practice it very nicely. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you are able to analyze yourself that which chapter your attention need, right? So have a great day. Bye, kids. Enjoy your time and prepare well. All the best for your exam.